Hi guys, this is Tim O'Neill here from O'Neill's Fly Fishing and Nor-vise. We're here today to bring you the first in a series of short 5 to 10 minute videos, and we're going to discuss the entry or the beginning into fly tying. Today we're going to talk about tools, some of the tools that you need to get started, and a little bit about each thing. So when you go to make your purchases, you have a little bit more know-how as to what it is that you're looking for. The first thing that you're going to need is a fly tying vise. And vises can be as simple as this older Thompson Model A style, which is a static hook vise. You put the hook in and you clamp it and the hook doesn't move at all. And from there, you can go all the way up to this fully tricked out Nor-vise that rotates and spins and does a bunch of different things. The one thing that you really need to look for in a fly tying vise, the most important thing that a vise does is it has to hold the hook steady. Okay. A lot of what we do in the world of fly tying, we use thread tension to manipulate the materials around the hook. So we may take a light wrap, we may take a medium wrap, we may take a heavy wrap, or we may do a combination of all three, and that will allow the materials to roll up onto the hook shank and distribute around the shank the way that we want them. If your hook is moving up and down in your vise, your thread tension is never going to be consistent. You're going to have challenges tying with certain materials, and unfortunately when you get to the end and you start fishing your fly, it's going to fall apart. So make sure that you buy a quality vise, make sure that it has a quality set of jaws in it that will hold the hook securely, and also kind of think about the type of fishing that you're going to do and the type of flies that you're going to tie, what size. Some of the vise manufacturers have different jaw setups for their vise, and one jaw may be geared towards tying smaller flies, one jaw may be geared towards tying bigger flies. So if you're going to tie a lot of trout stuff and a lot of smaller midges and nymphs, you don't really need a great big saltwater jaw that holds 4 and 5 odd hooks. Consequently, if you're a saltwater guy and you're tying a bunch of bigger flies, you don't really need a midge jaw or something to hold smaller hooks. So have an idea of at least where you're going to start with your fly tying, the size of flies that you're going to tie, and gear your vise purchase towards that. Second thing we're going to talk about is your bobbin. The bobbin is the metal framed piece that holds your tying thread when we're tying flies. And most of them will accept a full spool of tying thread, and you'll see us a lot of times when we're tying flies, you'll see us using this and wrapping it around the shank of the hook. Basically what this does, it holds your thread and it feeds your thread up this tube, and as we're tying on it, it will allow the thread to roll off of the spool and roll onto the shank of the hook. This is a very basic, just a generic wireframe model. This is a bit of a more advanced model. It has a tension screw on it so that you can adjust the tension or how hard or how easy it is for the thread to roll off of the spool onto the hook. And then we have our Nor-vise auto bobbin, which is a product we manufacture that is a fully automatic retracting bobbin. The one thing that you want to look for in a bobbin is the material at the tip. You want some kind of ceramic or a ruby type material. Some of the threads that we use are very abrasive, and they can actually wear a groove in a metal tube bobbin. And what will happen is, as you have that groove worn in your bobbin, as you're tying and you're wrapping thread on, that groove will come across the thread and it will cut it. And you'll have a bobbin and it will just habitually cut thread and just keep cutting thread. At that point, the bobbin really is no good and you need to throw it out. The ceramic or ruby tipped bobbins will last a lot longer. They're not quite as susceptible to getting grooves in them from the thread material, and it's going to give you a better overall tying experience. The other thing that I want to say in regards to bobbins, some of the beginner kits that you will buy will have a long wire loop, and that's a bobbin threader. And basically what you do with it is you shove it down the end of the bobbin, and then the loop comes out down here, thread your thread through and pull it through, and it's an easy way to get your thread through your bobbin tube. I would not recommend those at all. we like these. They're dental floss threaders. They are a monofilament loop. They won't score the inside of the tube. They won't nick the ceramic or the ruby. And these are gonna allow your bobbin to have a lot longer life than using a metal bobbin threader. The next thing we're gonna talk about is scissors. A good pair of scissors is a must. We do a lot of cutting and a lot of shaping and different things with our scissors. Scissors come in a variety of different shapes. This is a 4-inch razor scissor. They have some that look like standard scissors that we all used when we were growing up. This is a specialty pair. This is the pair that I use most of the time. I like these because I can hold them in my hand and I can still manipulate materials and do things, but then when I'm ready, I can just, with my thumb and forefinger, just pinch them together and cut. They have serrated blade scissors. They have smooth blade scissors. All are for different applications. And as we get a little further into this series, we can talk about that. If there is a place that I would recommend where you splurge a little bit, spend a little bit of money, I would say get a good pair of scissors. It is very, very important that your scissors are sharp and that they can cut the material that we're working with. Next thing is called a bodkin, and a bodkin is basically just a pointed, kind of a pointed metal shaft. And we use this a lot for separating materials. We'll use it for picking things out of the pack. So if I want to tie with some of this flash, I can come in here and I can pick a few of these out, and then I can cut this off and tie it onto my fly. Very, very versatile tool. You will use this a lot. You want to look for one that also has in the back a tapered edge and a little kind of a dimple in the end, and that's used for making the knot to tie off at the end of the fly. And we'll go over that again in a later video. But this is something, they're not very expensive. I would recommend you get a couple of them because you're probably going to lose one, or it's not uncommon to break one. But a bodkin is another tool that you absolutely will have to have. The next one we're going to talk about are hackle pliers. And hackle pliers, when we say hackle, what you would be probably most familiar with if we're talking of a traditionally tied dry fly, the stiff kind of barbs that radiate out around the hook shank. That's actually a feather, and it's a hackle feather, and that feather is wound around perpendicular to the shank of the hook, and then the fibers kind of spring out, and that's what allows the dry fly to float on the surface of the water. Some of those feathers can be very small, so it's hard to grab them sometimes with your fingers and wrap them around. So we have a pair of pliers. So this is a standard. It's like an electrical clip, and you just push it and a little hook appears, and then you can clamp on your material. Now you're holding on to this as opposed to the little tiny feather. This is one that's from a company called Loon. It has some interchangeable heads, has an alligator clip on the end. There is a bunch of different hackle pliers, and you don't use them for just wrapping hackle on the shank of the hook. So take a look at them, pick one that feels right for you, and make your purchase. We're always going to tell you to support your local fly shops. If you have any questions, you can feel free to reach out to me via the O'Neill's Fly Fishing website or the Nor-vise website. And I hope that answers some of your questions, and we'll see you on the next video. Thank you.